All right. I'll call to order the redevelopment commission on this the 10th day of August of 2021. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Moan,
Here.
Mr. Hoover,
Here.
Mr. Hopper,
Here.
Mr. Harris,
Present.
Mr. Campbell,
Mr. Campbell will be absent today.
and non-voting advisor, Mr. Alexander.
Present.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve our minutes from our July 13th? So then, second. Any discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. 4-0. New business, the Bears project, consideration of request for approval of assignment agreement.
And I'll speak to this initially. I think Ryan Hahn and maybe a representative of the buyer of that property may be with us on Zoom. You see him? Yes, I see Ryan's name at least. And I think Marty Edmonds is the representative for the buyer of that property. I'll start out, like I said, this is follow-up to the action we took at the last meeting. And recall, we approved an estoppel certificate that was requested by Beerus. A little more background. Beerus and their development of property on the north side of Main Street, just east of I-65, would provide an incentive agreement from the RDC. And as part of that, now they have come before us asking for essentially the approval to assign their rights and responsibilities of that project agreement to the buyer of the property. And in the original project agreement, they have the right to assign their rights and responsibilities under the project agreement, so long as the assignment document has been reviewed and approved by the redevelopment commission. So you've been provided a copy of the assignment agreement. I have reviewed it myself, and as far as I'm concerned, it is an acceptable form. And the new buyer will have all the rights and responsibilities and obligations as Beerus did as the project agreement. So it seems reasonable to me to allow Beerus to be exited from that project.
Any questions for anybody?
We don't have to sign it. We just have to, in our minutes, approve that form.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Watson, this is Ryan Hahn with Veris Partners. I don't know if I could speak to this at this point.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Hahn with Veris Partners, 3209 West Smith Valley Road, Greenwood, Indiana, 46142. Just following up on Mr. Watson's presentation of this, just wanted to give you a brief epilogue on the project. As he mentioned, we have sold the building to a group called Black Creek Group that Mr. Marty Edmondson is in attendance on this meeting as well, and wanted to give the opportunity to introduce him to you, at least associated a name with a face or at least a voice on this new investment in the community, and then just give you a brief epilogue on the project that last we spoke, we had just signed a lease on the balance of the building. Happy to say that FGX / One Click moved into the building this summer and began operation, which will allow them to remain in Greenwood and continue to expand their operations. So just want to reiterate our gratitude, and none of this would have been possible without the work of this commission. So appreciate it again. And then Marty, if you want to introduce yourself and just give a brief summary of who Black Creek Group, that would be great.
Yes, Ryan, and good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate providing us a couple minutes here to introduce ourselves. Again, Marty Edmondson. I'm the managing director and market officer for Black Creek Group, located 2 Mid-America Plaza, Suite 620 in Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois. From the Oak Brook office, I manage both the Chicago, Indianapolis, Louisville, and Cincinnati markets. We're excited to be back in Greenwood. We've owned and managed assets here in our prior funds. We are a nationally based industrial real estate investment manager and developer. As of right now, we have either own or have a pipeline of roughly 100 million square feet of industrial across the country. Indianapolis and particularly Greenwood has been very much a part of our investment strategy. So like I said, we've owned real estate here prior, and we were excited to work with Ryan and team and you all in acquiring another asset in Greenwood.
Just for the record, when you were quoting the amount of square footage you manage, there was a little technological glitch, so we didn't actually hear that number. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, as of right now, between the assets we own and manage and have in our pipeline, roughly 100 million square feet across the country.
That's what I thought. I wanted to verify. Thank you.
Any questions for Ryan or Marty? Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Hoover. Any discussion with the commission members? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Approved 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Business capital project report, Market Plaza Street improvements, consideration of GSA with GAI consultants.
Yeah, so this is relatively quick because it's just an introduction. But going back to when we created the central TIF, we've had the goal of connecting the system of parks that sits around Pleasant Creek. So you've got behind the police station and behind the fire department where the amphitheater is, and then Old City Park. And then kind of at the very end is City Center Park where the splash pad is and the pool used to be. So what this does, which is on kind of all the master plans going back to 2015 and 16, is start the design of a trail or double sidewalk. Don't know if the full trail will fit in there, and some drainage improvements along Market Plaza, so that if you were to, it's kind of the last link in the chain, east-west, between those three kind of old town parks that sit on Pleasant Creek. Right now, everyone gets Old City Park, and then you just kind of make your own way. There's no sidewalks on Market Plaza. So work with GAI, who's actually the engineer who's doing the current Madison Avenue project to get this price. And as I said, just introducing the project, and we'll talk more about it when we actually vote in this will be September. Wow. So summer's gone fast.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Financial report, monthly financial reports. I think Adam's on the phone. So, yeah, we have two Adams. James, we have two Adams up there. Both muted. Yeah. Let's come back to the financial reports. What do you say? Okay. Corporation tax line, Mr. Hodson. Let's see, Mr. Hodson now.
Politics now is here for there's nothing else.
Mr. Watson.
Nothing further today.
Mr. Wright? Nothing for me. Okay. Mr. Johnson? That's on the packet. I was over walking in.
Hey, Jeremy, am I able to switch over to the desktop here? Oh, appreciate it. Like that. Good afternoon, Daniel Johnston, City Engineer. This is the second meeting for Horseville Road, Section 1. Consideration of the 30%, the initial design contract for that project. This will be the final segment of the entire Worsville Road corridor. The city's had on its books since 1988 in terms of the comprehensive plan, the future vision for this. Certainly, we've had various segments under construction since I think 2013, 2014 is when the first section between 31 and 65 was under construction. So this will be the initial design of the final segment. We have two consultants kind of working on this project, CHA Consulting and USI Consultants. They're going to be working within sort of the confines or the footprint of the environmental assessment that was completed back in, approved by the Federal Highway Administration in 2018. That was essentially identifying all the various impacts associated with the corridor. That included Worsville Road sections 1, 2, and 3. 3, of course, being under construction now. I've got a slide here with an update. Section 2, I've got an update for that as well that went to letting last month, and then now section 1. So the initial tasks that will be involved with this are the survey, the preliminary road and drainage design. I think there's been a lot of interest into what that road will look like. Based on the environmental report, the initial plan is essentially to lay out the future vision of a 5-lane section, much like Worsville Road Section 2 will be in Worsville Road Section 3. What's actually constructed will just be the outer 2 lanes. It'll have the wide grassy median in the middle. And then at some point in the future, when traffic volumes require it, the inner lanes will be constructed at that time. So the initial design will kind of lay out that overall footprint, but in terms of their planning what will actually be constructed, it'll just be the outer 2 lanes. In that section, there's also the Honey Creek crossing. So they'll do some hydraulic analysis of what's there. That structure right now is just a 2-lane structure. It'll have to be widened and lengthened. And then all of our favorite subject, the initial utility coordination that's going to be associated with that project. The intent of doing the design now is so that we'll be able to apply in 2022 for construction funding from the MPO. If it's selected, if it's awarded, I believe that would be available in 2026. So we're still some years off from shovels hitting the ground. The fee for our consultants to do the initial 30% design is just under $285,000. They're $284,900, and we've identified the Southwest TIF as the funding source for this amount here. So my request, or if you have any questions, would be to approve the funding for this initial design of Worsville Road Section 1.
I'm sorry, is this over 100,000?
It was already introduced.
Yeah.
Okay.
From a contractor standpoint, not seeing the meeting documents, a proposed contract with the redevelopment commission, be the contracting entity or just the funding entity?
Oh, I'm sorry. You would be the contracting entity, but we'll work on that.
So you really are asking for contracting authority as well as the funding, right?
Yes.
Did I hear you correctly? They're going to design this with the full width. And then, but the initial construction along will be the outer lanes.
That's correct.
And then is that to defer costs to a later time, or is it just traffic doesn't merit the full construction?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Traffic doesn't warrant having all 5 lanes at this time. And whenever it does, we won't have to go and acquire more right of way. We won't have to deal with utilities. we'll be able to construct right in the middle.
Is there a projection as to when the traffic might warrant 5 lanes?
No.
anticipate at some point it will, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make that clear. Just want to make sure that's clear to everybody here. Yeah. Similar to how they don't, White Road, right? You got the median grass median in the middle, but the intent is to blacktop that.
Daniel, refresh my memory, section 1 is where,
Oh, yeah, sorry. It is between 135 and Honey Creek Road.
and then are there BP lines coming around here? Where about, are there?
Yes, it's on the north side of the road for about all the eastern half of the project. And there's other utilities, telecommunications, water. So yeah, the utility coordination piece, like with any project, it's key.
But BP is without a doubt the worst utility in the history of the world that deal with, right? At least in everyone's experience. Yeah.
Personal opinion, maybe.
Any further questions for David? Is there a motion to approve both contracting authority and the money from this? So moved. Any discussion from commission members? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
And I do have two quick updates for you. The first is on this next page here. This is a photo taken about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago on Worsville Road Section 3. They're at the new bridge over Tracy Ditch, just right next to Summerfield Park. This photo is on the city's social media as well, so you may have already seen it there, but exciting things are happening on Worsville Road Section 3. They're progressing.
Is there a projected end date?
Yes, so there's a couple phases. So we had the roundabout at Everett open up just a couple weeks ago. Weather permitting and striping, pavement striping permitting, late tomorrow, the segment between the Everett roundabout and County Road 75 West, that will open up. But this segment here, like you see in the photo, from 75 West to US 31 will remain closed through mid-December. And closed meaning for any through traffic. There's still access available to Summerfield Park. We just ask that citizens, if they go to the park, just be careful because they're really driving essentially through a construction zone. But we wanted to still keep the park open for citizens.
And the reason for my question, that's to make it thoroughfare for kids going from Center Road to C9 and C9 back to Center Road. So they were asking me just apparently kids would ask a few extra minutes. Yeah, that was what I said too. So
Well, and hopefully with the Everett roundabout open, it's decent detour through stopping.
it's not too bad.
And then next spring, they'll actually come back and put in the asphalt surface layer, the final pavement markings, some additional asphalt multi-use paths as well. So that's kind of the timeline for that segment. Worsville Road, Section 2, I think Paul may have mentioned at the July meeting. They actually had, NDOT held the bid opening the day after the RDC's July meeting. So the lowest bidder, it was a Milestone. Their bid was $9.6 million. The city's local funds share of that was just slightly less than $2.1 million. We've already paid that to NDOT. They gave the contractor notice to proceed, and we have our pre-construction meeting this Friday. So that ball's rolling. We hope to learn more about the contractor's schedule then and in the weeks to come. That's all I have.
The Main Street, Yorktown, Benaview roundabout looks great. Daniel. A long time work.
We've had a lot of compliments about that.
Thank you. Anything from the mayor's office? We'll go back to Adam. He's on the phone again. Are you ready for us, Adam?
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Great. Sorry, I had classic Zoom double mute mistake. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen. I just have a couple quick updates as well. No action tonight. First is to share my screen. We've got just your normal monthly report. Really nothing of note here other than we're working through the annual neutralization process with the county, and the part of your status update was we have preliminary pay to 2022 assessed values. Try to make that a little larger, and as we stand right now across all allocation areas, cumulative growth is positive, it's up 12.88%. You may have noticed the central TIF was actually down. This is what we spent the last few days working with the city controller, myself, and members of the county auditors team have been working through. We found quite a bit of that already, so we've resolved a big chunk of that. One of the large parcels out there in the area was miscategorized. It had a new parcel established, and in the administrative process of that, the captured AV flipped to the base. So we're working through that. We still have, in total, we had about a $38 million variance between what we provided in the neutralization form, which you have copies of, versus what came in the what's called post-factor pre-certified values. We're working through a reconciliation with them now. We're talking to the county's vendor to try to establish what happened, and we have about 13.8 million worth of additional growth that we think will be added to these captured values, which will actually increase the year-over-year growth as well. So again, these are preliminary. They are not certified yet, but they are the best, most recent information that we're working through. So I wanted to go ahead and share it with you. And the two percentages, you see the year-over-year growth, that's pay 21 over pay 22. And the percent of total is looking at the percent of each allocation area's captured AV versus the total Greenwood Redevelopment Commission's areas. So you can see varying different changes with regards to that. So otherwise, really the only other item that I have, and then I'll take any questions that you may have for me, is this time of year we want to start doing the TIF appropriations. So I think at your last meeting you approved the general fund RDC budget. That's for the actual adopted budget of the city. Each year, additionally, we need to go through a TIF fund appropriation process for the Department of Local Government Finance. And once we finalize the certified net assessed values, we'll work through those calculations and are targeting bringing those for you at your September meeting. So I will coordinate with the RDC's attorney as well as the city's corporation counsel on the documentation and all of that, but really just wanted to provide that FYI. So otherwise, if you have any questions, I'm happily do my best to answer them now. Otherwise, that is all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Adam? Hearing none, we'll move on. Let's see, the August claims docket, amount of $6,003,813.88. Let's run this through. Sorry, Mr. Harris. Okay, yeah. Mr. You threw your voice really well over there, Mr. Harris. All right. My younger counterpart who's had a birthday. Younger. All those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any other business come before the commission? I mentioned after our last meeting that I'd like to change the date of our next meeting, September meeting, to either Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday. This is my meeting.
Won't be on 6 o'clock next week. It goes beyond 6 o'clock. I'm not doing my job. Okay, very well.
I'm sorry, you're saying Monday?
Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Your conflict starts at 6 o'clock on Monday.
One quick second here. I gotta check that. It's in a text, right? As always. You're saying Wednesday the 15th?
Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday would work. 13th.
Monday and Thursday are best for me. There's possibility.
All right, let's go Monday, 13th. Can I unilaterally move that, or should we get a motion in a second? I would give a motion. Or you unanimous. Second. All those in favor, aye? Aye. September 13th will be our next meeting. I will inform Mr. Cable as well. That way he's.
I'll do an official meeting check date change.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, any other business to come before the commission? Hearing none, we will stand adjourned.